I'm Amy Morrison. I'm a professional mountain biker. I've been riding for 5 years and racing for 4 professionally. I grew up in Michigan, and then I went to school in South Carolina at Clemson University, and then moved around a little bit and ended up in Auburn, California. I started barefooting when I was young with my family. I ended up winning nationals in the jump event, and then I was on the U.S. national team for barefoot worlds and placed 3rd in the jump. I competed in swimming and diving in high school, and I was 3rd in the 50 free and state runner-up in the diving event. I competed track and field in high school. I ran hurdles, did long jump, ran the sprints, but really got into pole vaulting. My junior and senior year I was state champion and set the state record, and then I went on to pole vault at Clemson University. Did that for 4 years, and then when I graduated I got a pharmaceutical sales job right out of college. So I did that, and about a year of doing that, that's when I started getting into mountain biking. So I had started road biking when I graduated college. I enjoyed the road biking. My first place that I was positioned in for the job was Denver. And I had always thought that I wanted to live in Florida and water ski, and that was like my dream. And then I went to Denver and I was like, oh my gosh, the mountains are amazing. And I started road biking, and I'd road bike all over, and I really wanted to get a mountain bike, but because of the pharmaceutical job, they were moving me every 3 months, so I didn't have a way to really move that much stuff. So I held off on the mountain bike, and then I moved. My final spot was Sacramento, where I became permanent, and there was a big mountain bike scene, and I just went to a bike shop and bought my first mountain bike. I started pretty much just going out anytime that I could after work. I would just look up on the internet and just try to find different places to ride. The first place I rode was called Granite Bay. It's pretty easy, sandy, not really difficult trails, and I would just go out there and ride. And they had a mountain bike series out there where they would have races every other weekend in the winter, and so I just started doing those, and I was able to just get better doing those and kind of met people while racing and just grew from there. I'm pretty competitive, so pretty much everything I do I end up competing in, and there's a lot of races out there. And I started with cross country, which is fairly typical. I think people kind of get into it and they kind of fall into the cross country category. And so I raced a couple cross country races, and I was like, man, I really like the downhill portions. Like, that's what I like. Like, the rest is pretty painful. But and that was about the time when enduro was starting to get popular. And so one of my friends suggested, hey, you should try an enduro race. And enduro is basically a combination of cross country and downhill. So you are only timed on the downhill portions, but there's multiple downhill portions that you do, and then you're responsible to pedal to the top of each stage. So you don't want a super heavy bike that will just smash through everything, because it's going to be really hard to pedal that back up the hill. But you also don't want a really light, fast bike that's not going to be very stable through downhill sections. So it's kind of that game with enduro. You have to find the right setup for the race that you're racing. So I just started racing enduro races, and I did pretty much one race, and then the next race I went pro. There's no I guess how you would say it, like, you don't have to get like a pro card. You just, if you want to race in the professional category, you just sign up in the professional category. So I did my first race and I won in the open category, and then after that I just started racing pro. I've won the California Enduro Series 3 times, the Golden Tour twice, and the North American Enduro Series. I think what's helped me be successful in so many different sports is just the upbringing that I had with my family. We were very active, and they put me into a lot of different sports when I was young. And so instead of focusing just on being a soccer star, my parents put me in soccer, but gymnastics, we water skied. They put me in basketball leagues, volleyball leagues, swimming. So I just was exposed to a lot of different things, and I think it just helps me overall as an athlete to pick up new sports and also excel in mountain biking. What led me to go all in on the mountain biking and leave my pharmaceutical job was really just my passion for mountain biking and traveling, and it was really hard with my job to take the time necessary to go to new races. I was kind of confined just to the California Enduro Series because I could take maybe a Thursday and Friday off to go to the race, but that was really all the time I had. I couldn't fly to Vermont and race over in Vermont. I couldn't fly to Europe and fly in Europe because I just didn't have, I had 2 to 3 weeks of vacation and that's all I had in a year. And I was pretty fortunate to have saved a lot of money throughout working the pharmaceutical sales job, and I was also at a point where I was making income from the mountain biking. So I looked at it as this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't have a mortgage, I don't have kids, and I really love the sport, so I might as well just go for it. I can always go back to working 9 to 5. I really think my progress has been really incremental, and so I have been fortunate that it's always just been progressing. Every now and then I'll have like a bad race, but for the most part I'm pretty consistent and I just keep getting better, and I think that motivates me. I go to a race and I see these girls that maybe I didn't think that I could compete with, and all of a sudden I'm beating them or I'm getting times that are really close to them, and that's really encouraging. Just like the race I had in Columbia, I didn't really know where I would mix up with the top girls in the world, and just to see that my times weren't very far off from the top 10 and I even got a top 8, or I got an 8th place, I was like, wow, like I can do this. And that motivates me, that gets me fired up and puts me back in it. One thing my friends always joke around with me is they're always like, what's next? What are you gonna do next? Because I always seem to do a sport for a while, get really good, have some accomplishments, and then I move on to another one. But I really think mountain biking is something that's gonna stick. Just you can do it so many different places in the world, and I love traveling, so I think that's amazing. But I really hope, as far as my competitive side in mountain biking, I hope what kind of people remember me by is the fact that I got into it late and was able to be really successful and just had a lot of fun with it. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, like I didn't do it as a kid, like I can't be good at it. And I started mountain biking when I was 23. And so I think just knowing that you can start a sport at any age and excel in it and take it wherever you want to take it is possible.